when I started Team Trek, it was really to start tying guys to what works, what's working, why it's working. Come and tell me why it worked for you, and then we'll talk about how we connect other people to it, right? So really that's the intent behind this podcast, right? So like I said, I like that it's local, and I can bring you back at any time. But just getting into it real quick. So, do I pronounce your last name? Is it Ullrich?
Ullrich, yep.
Ullrich.
Yep, Ullrich.
Okay, and how many years did you do as a TACP?
I was at 98 to 03.
98 to 03. So, right at 6 years,
Right,
5-6 years.
I had just re-enlisted.
Okay.
Before I had a little accident.
And you didn't tell me at all about your accident. So I really want to get into that, but I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to tell your story, right? So where would you like to start this journey?
Well, I'd like to start right at maybe brief on the military service, because really it was post. I mean, everything that happened after that, because I was at such a young age, right after that, and then how it just nosedived. Okay. And so in my service was, when I went in at 18, gung-ho. I actually tried out for CCT and pararescue at first, and the water thing just didn't click with me.
It's tough.
I mean, I think I probably, if I would have had the right training previously, I could have done it. I mean, I've just got that kind of intensity.
Sure.
But at the time, it wasn't yet.
It's not something you could just muscle through.
No, there's no way. And so when I went into basic training, I went in as a crew chief. I was going to be at C-130 crew chief. And I'm sitting in a room one day, and the drill instructors come in and say, "Look, we got some guys coming in and want to talk to you about a special program." And I didn't really think nothing of it. And then these guys come in black berets, patched out, just badass looking,
right. Oh, yeah.
And they start talking about blowing shit up. And man, I'm just sitting there like fiending at the mouth, like, man, I got to do this. I mean, it was like the first time I felt God like, that's you, 100%. And I mean, from that point on, it was like, I've got to be a TACP. Oh, let me turn this. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
At first, we went to this, because you had to pass a PT test, obviously. It was like 2 days later. We go out to this big field, and we go through all the push-ups, sit-ups, the whole rigmarole. And I smoked every one of them, smoked them all. Smoked the run. Matter of fact, I ran. I was so excited about it. I'm sure you've experienced this, where I hit this runner's high, and I crossed the finish line throwing up, just puking everywhere, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And then the dudes from TAC, they're so intense anyway, and they're just like so pumped up. Well, And then the last thing we had to do was pull-ups. And I'm like, I got this. And so I get up on the pull-up bar, and I think you do like 12. And I get there, and at 11, I crash. And I'm like, no. And muscle fatigue hit in, and I'm like, man, and I'm cussing, like holding myself up, like, so I just started headbutting the bar, like just going beast mode on this bar, busting my forehead up, got blood coming down my face, and I wanted this so bad, and then I drop, and I was so pissed off, man. And the instructor got up, he said, "Look, dude, I don't give a damn how many pull-ups you do, you're in."
Wow.
He's like, I want your attitude.
Bro, that's crazy.
So that's kind of how it started. And, I went to Herbert Field for my training, loved it. From day one, I was like, this is it. There was a brotherhood, it was a sense of, I don't know, I had never felt anything like that. Like every single guy there came from some similar background to where we were kind of outcast. We were a little heavy metal, and we just clicked. And it was a good time to be in. And so I streamlined. I went airborne route, did everything. I did everything to the best of I loved it. Went to Bragg, Loved Bragg, went to Air Assault, finished Distinguished Honor Graduate Air Assault. There's only been a few Air Force guys do that at an Army school. I love my job. I loved it. And I don't know what happened. I think just life, women, and just the nature of things that it was getting towards the end of my term. And I was wrestling with, do I get out? Do I stay in? And I really didn't have nothing. And I had a moment to where I sat back and I was like, can I do this for the rest of my life? And I finally made a decision out of nowhere. I think one of our ALOs, one of the officers who were attached to our unit, he was over me. And I just pulled him aside one day and I said, hey, Cap, would you do my re-enlistment? He goes like, what? Skeet, you're going to re-enlist? I'm like, yeah, I think I want to do this for the rest of my life. He was like, all right, cool. So I re-enlisted, and then we're training to get to deploy and doing some parachute stuff. And I just had a freak parachute. I just had one of them landings that you hear about every now and then, but it was just horrible and busted my back to shit, my knees, and I had to go to the flight dock every single other day, it seemed, and then they DQ'd me. So I get out, and at the time I got out, there was no like transition. There was no like, hey, look, this is what you're about to face in the real world. You've been so programmed for this long. Here comes society. There was nothing like that. It was just like, here's your papers, here's a little bit of spending money, and we'll see you later. So I get out, and then I experience the VA for the first time. And with a messed up back, messed up knees, didn't really have anything psychological at the time. I think just with the nature of the transition, I don't think that I had grounded myself yet to where that set in. So I moved out to Las Vegas. I had a situation to where I went to Las Vegas with a buddy of mine. He came back from Afghanistan, and I was like, my uncle lives in Las Vegas, and I was like, man, I can get us a free trip to Vegas, dude. Let's go out there. So we go out there, and I wasn't really a strip club person. Me and my buddy go to a strip club, run into this chick at a strip club. I ended up marrying her like 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just Elvis married us, man. It was a whole, I came back to brag with a story.
Well, absolutely.
So anyway, so when I'm out, I go to Vegas, live with my wife, 19, 20, I was 21. And I didn't know what to do with my life. I had no clue, because prior to this, my plan was to finish in the military. And so I go to the VA. They pack me full of pills. Me and the wife end up splitting. Wasn't never going to work. There was nothing, no foundation there. So I moved back home to Alabama. Had to come back to my parents. I didn't know what to do. Really, the only skill set I have was blowing shit up.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know if there's any applications anywhere for mercenary.
It doesn't transition well, does it? Yeah.
No. And so I did whatever I could. I went in the gym scene, started personal training, and going to the VA, getting medication. And at the time where I was at the VA, you've probably heard your stories to where if you have a primary care provider and say you see him every 6 months or so, I go for my 6-month visit and he's gone.
Yeah.
Well, then they've got to reschedule you for a new provider. That could take a month or two. Then in that, you've got to do a new patient orientation or something. So there was a lapse of prescription. And I'm like, so what do I do in the meantime? They're like, oh, you're just going to suck it up or something, And I'm like, oh, what? Like, I'm taking heavy narcotics. Like, you're crazy. And so then that's where the addiction hit. And I'm running around trying to find pills. And I fell into a world of addiction that it'll get you. It'll get you quick if you're not ready. And I wasn't prepared for it. And before you know it, I'm getting medication from the VA, trying to find medication on the street. I'm just so dark. And that's where the mental health hit. I started having the episodes of deep depression, man. I didn't want to be around anybody. I'd rent a hotel room, get away from society, just lock myself in, all the time contemplating suicide, all the time. I just, who would want to live a life like that? My family didn't understand me, nor did they want to take the time or put the time in to understand what it takes for a military guy to live a life and then try to transition into normalcy. All they would ever tell me was, you went in or adjusted and you came out a different person. And I'm like, well, have you ever thought there's a reason for that? Like there's probably something that comes with that. Maybe, you could, take a little time and invest in me, but there was never any of that. I had to do a lot on my own. So, went to the VA. That's who I trusted, a lot of us vets, man, if we don't have the brotherhood outside that we had inside, then what I did is I invested with the VA, and I was like, I just have to trust you guys that you're going to help me. So I did a lot of the VA programs. The first one I went to was in North Little Rock at the VA there, and it was wonderful, man. I loved it. They treated me great. It was a dual diagnosis program because my mental health provider diagnosed me with major depression, PTSD, and along with addiction. I wanted to get rid of that. I was like, this addiction thing's got to go. Right. So I did that a few times actually. But the one thing that I found in those programs that if I could go in homeless, basically, go into the program, man, be on cloud nine. I got this, I got all these tools now. I've got my head right. I've got some clean time. And then it's like the day you graduate, it's like, hey, you've been a great patient. Here's the door. Right. But if you don't have nothing, then what do you go to? Like, there was so many programs I went through, man. There was nothing to follow. They give you a certificate, and then there's the door. So you walk out, and it's like, okay, what do I do now? I've got all this sobriety and clean time, and I got some tools that could help me, but where do I go? It's not like I could go back to my parents, I tried that a few times. And
were they trying to use any of the sober living programs or anything like that for you guys?
I think I just did all this at a time where there was not a lot of that available. I think they learned from a lot of us guys that, man, we got to do something because these guys are going back on the street. And that's kind of what I did. I would find like a halfway house, whatever I could do to try to stay sober at the time. I kind of felt I had a pride thing. I didn't want to come back home, still broken. So I stayed in Arkansas, in Little Rock, just trying to get involved with any kind of program they had there. They had halfway houses and stuff like that. So I did that, but none of that stuck. None of that was like, I didn't see a future like that, like this. It was all temporary stuff. And so it all would lead right back to addiction. Every one of them, because I would be good for a little while, get my thing going, and then right back into it, or there'd be somebody there that'd be like, just lead you right back into it, and
so all the programs that you were trying, were they, for the most part, talk therapies?
Yeah,
just
it was, well, actually, the first one I went through, brother. The first one I went through in Fort Rouge, North Little Rock, they had shock therapy.
Shock therapy.
So they classified me as intensive military trauma. And so they took me down to this room, and it seems crazy to think about it. This room, and they strapped me to this table, and because I was like, I'll do whatever it takes, and I trusted the VA, which I still do now. I've realized that it's not the VA in whole. You can find good people in the VA that care. It's just some of them, there's not that. You're just a name on a piece of paper, and I went through the shock therapy thing.
Can you tell me a little bit about the shock therapy? Like, what does that even look like?
So all I remember is they strapped me to this table, put a piece of something in my mouth, and they put this thing on my head, and I don't remember feeling too much. I remember sleeping, to tell you the truth. I just would fall asleep in all these sessions. But I think they had this thing on the side of my head that would that they turn this machine up, and it would just kind of send like these electrical pulses into my brain.
Okay.
And then I would go do therapy after that, talk to the doctors or whatever. I did that a few times. And I think it worked for a little while. I think the people that were there at North Little Rock, I think they had great intentions, man. It was really me, I guess, man. I never had any, because I knew what was to come. I knew I didn't have anything after that. I knew I was going right back to nothing.
So did you feel like you were kind of slow rolling the treatment and trying to prolong it a little bit?
Yeah, and so really I was a treatment junkie really for a while, because I didn't want to go back to being homeless and having nothing. And I know there was other places out there that I could probably reach out to, but like I said at the time, man, there was.
So what year is this?
This is probably 2000, maybe 7, 8, maybe 2007 or 8. Maybe a little bit. My dates are washed, man. Probably 2007 or 8. I remember I would go. I lived in Little Rock for a while. I would stay there, go to a program, get out, wait a couple weeks or a couple months, and then I would go check myself back in. Hey, man, I got to do this again. It didn't work. And they were good. They let me keep doing it. And I remember the time, in my faith at this time, that was another thing. I didn't really have the church thing going. I don't remember even thinking about it, And I remember I was at, I don't know what floor it was on, but they had like the psych patient ward, and I was one of the patients on one of those. And they let you out every now and then. And I remember I had a plan. I was like, when next time they let me out, I'm just going to run. I'm just going to take off. This sucks. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Just being in the psych ward was that much different? Or
you go through that stuff so many times, man. It's just like, it just kind of weighs on you. You're like, dude, what am I doing? What's my life consist of? Is this what I'm going to do my whole life? Is just float from VA to VA? And so I think I hit a dark moment, and I made up my mind that I was going to just jump ship and take off. And so I did. And I remember running down the street, and I'm in hospital scrubs and a T-shirt. And I was like, what? I need to figure out a way to kill myself, man. Like, this sucks. And I remember I made up my mind that I was gonna walk to downtown Little Rock and find the tallest building and jump off. That was my plan. And so I remember walking across the river, and in my mind I'm thinking of everything that I had done in my life. And yeah, I had my moments of glory, and it was wonderful. But where I was at, it was like, and I don't want to put my family through this. I don't want to keep doing this. I had no direction. And I remember seeing this one building downtown Little Rock, and they had the Peabody and the DoubleTree downtown. And I was like, what? I picked one. I said, I'm gonna make my way to the top of that. I'm just gonna jump off, somebody will find me, get word back to my parents or whatever. But this was it. I was done. And I remember I walked into this building and was going up. I went up to the elevator to the top floor, and I walked around the top floor until I could find like the maintenance stairs or whatever to get to the roof. And I remember the first step I had on the when I found the stairway, I put my foot on the first stair, and I was like, you know what, God, if you're up there, I need help. Like, this sucks, but you might want to do it pretty quick. Like, you might want to, I don't know, what you can do, but if there's anything left for me, you need to do something fast, because I'm done. I'm punching my ticket, man. This is it. And I remember going to the top of the stairs, opening the door. It was open, and I saw the rooftop, and I was like, "Ah, this is it." So I take a step out on the roof. Dude, I took one step, and it was like my foot hit tar. And I was like, and I couldn't move it, man. I remember looking down, and I was like, is this one of them tar top roofs? And I'm like, it's not. It's like these little pebbles. And I'm like, there's no way for my foot to be stuck. And I'm not one to, I'm telling you, my foot would not move. So then I get pissed off, man. And I'm like, no, you're not going to take this from me. No, this is me. I'm done. So I took one more step, stuck, not moving. And I'm like, I'm looking up, and it's dark by now. And I'm looking up in this, I'm like cursing God, like, no, man, I didn't expect you to do this. Like, you got to let me end it, man. I didn't think that you were going to act. Like, I just thought I was going to say that and be done with it. And my conscience was clear. And I was getting upset. And I got down on my hands and knees, dude. And I'm like pulling, trying to drag myself to the side. My fingers were bleeding, dude. I'm like pulling myself, and I'm just exhausted. And I just crashed right there. And I laid on my back. And I was looking up at the stars, man, and I was like, really? Like, and I start crying, dude, and I'm looking at the stars. And I remember as a kid, my papa would tell me, like, hey, son, those stars, man, God knows everyone by name. And as I'm looking up there, the stars started twinkling like Christmas, dude, like bing, 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 bing. And I was like, whoa. And I remember him telling me that he knows every one of my hairs by number. And I just sat there and like, oh. And I remember I was like, God, so what next? And I just passed out, man. Passed out. I woke up the next morning, man, and of course, if you could see, you could understand falling asleep on the roof of a downtown building.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, my God.
I wake up, and there's like, I got crud, dude, and I'm like nasty feeling. And I get up, and I walk down to the main street. It's like Markham Street runs down downtown Little Rock, and I walk out on the street. And I'm just like trying to recap like the night before. I'm like, did that really happen? So I walk across the road, and it's like a big sidewalk, and I'm walking down the sidewalk. Anytime now, I'm sure a sheriff, a cop, somebody's going to pull over. I stick out like a sore thumb.
Still in your hospital scrubs, yeah.
So I cross over this intersection of the sidewalk, and I remember this green van pulls up next to me and rolls down the window, and I'm thinking it's the VA. It's probably the VA. They're out looking for me. And I look, and there's this dude in the driver's seat bawling, crying. And I'm like kind of weirded out, and I look, and he's like, hey, man, he goes, I don't know what you got going on, brother, but I'm a pastor in Conway, Arkansas. I work at a church, Conway, Arkansas. And I was at the green light or the red light back there. It turned green, and God shined a light down on you and told me that I needed to pull over and pick you up and take you home with me, that he had a mission for you. Yeah, dude. And I'm like, what? And I mean, hey, what do you say? Like, I know that the night before I just told that to God. And so, I mean, I did what everybody else. I just got in the van.
Now, where were you with your faith prior to any of this? You said you were pretty far away, right?
Sketchy, man. hit and miss. I went to church as a kid, but it wasn't nothing. I mean, I had it in my heart. You know, I didn't give it any time of day, though. I really didn't. If anything, running 100 miles an hour the other way. But in that moment, I think in that moment, looking back, man, I remember feeling something for the first time. Like there's something there. There's something to this. So I get in the van with this dude, and he's crying, man. He's like trying to talk to me, and I could only imagine what he was going through, you know. And I remember he calls home. He's got a wife and kids. Like, he calls on speakerphone. I'm sitting there listening. We're on the interstate, and she picks up. She's crying. Brett, bring him home. And I'm like, what? And she's like, we're gonna make a room for him. He's like, what? She's like, God told me that you're gonna bring a homeless guy home.
You're kidding me.
And I'm like, what, dude? What is going on? I'm freaking out. Like, man, is this real?
So let's just recap real quick.
Yeah.
So you go from talking to God on the roof, if you're real, basically intervene.
Show me.
You can't get across the roof that night.
No.
You're blocked in tar. Fall asleep. Next day, you're walking down the street, and almost immediately you get picked up by a crying pastor who tells you God shined a light on you and said he needed to pick you up.
Yep. Take me home to live with him.
He calls his wife. His wife's also crying, saying that God spoke to her.
Yeah.
And said he was bringing you home.
Yeah. To accept it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
Dude. So I'm on this, and we talked a little bit on the way home, man. Great guy, dude. Just an amazing man of God. But he was like a renegade kind of pastor, like not like what you would see like on TV. Like he was definitely the one for me.
Okay.
He was a little rough. But that's what I needed.
He had a past himself.
Yeah,
probably.
man, he did. Yeah, he had a past.
That makes sense.
And he was so genuine, man, so real, you know. And it was just a connection. Like we're still like, that's my family, man. So I get to this place in Conway, Arkansas, and they sure enough had a room for me. Had a bed for me, put the other kids in they had 4 kids, man, 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and 2 little ones. And then they're letting this homeless guy come stay with them.
Yeah, that's
big, man.
That's big.
So, but they believed, you know, and I've never seen an act of obedience like that ever. And I was just in awe. So I stayed with that family for about a year, man. I worked with him and went to church, man, fell in love with God. Man, I fell in love with God. I remember reading the Bible for the first time, and I think it's when you're at a state of such brokenness and really emptiness that he best connects with you somehow. Because there was nothing else, man. I had nothing else. And I remember verses would just fly off the page, man, and wham, hit me in the heart, dude. I could not read a passage without bawling, crying. Everything I read was coming to me, and it was the most amazing thing ever. And I loved it, man. That's when I fell in love with God. But the thing is that I learned that you could fall in love with God and if you haven't dealt with your past, that it can definitely come back. The enemy's going to use it. And that's what happened to me.
Okay, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Are you ready to get into that?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
So I got to a point to where there was just nothing more they could do. Like, I was in church doing everything that I could, but I needed more because my addiction was coming back. that monster was coming back to haunt me.
So were you clean this whole time you're living with them?
I was clean at this point.
And what is clean? Like completely sober,
Yeah,
nicotine, caffeine, any of that stuff?
Well, no, I mean, I wasn't really a smoker or nothing. And I'm not really a coffee drinker or nothing like that. I just, if it's there, like as far as coffee or whatever, I might have a drink, a coffee or something like that. To me, sober or living in sobriety for me is not the worst, where it's every day I got to wake up and got to get it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, some people might not, it might not be a popular thing for some people, and I know some people have to take it to that extreme. Like I can't smoke, I can't do, but I also know there's some people, man, that live a great life and they might have a beer every now and then. I'm not faulting them. I'm not going to point a finger at those guys. To me, if you're beyond your worst and you've dealt with that monster, then to me, I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm not going to judge you for a cigarette or, I'm just not that guy.
Right. But sober you're not using anything.
No, I'm not losing anything. No. So I was, but there was something. I went to the VA one time. Brett took me to the VA, and because I needed to stay current, man. And of course, the doctor's first saying, "Hey, I need to get you back on your medication." And I'm sitting there like, "Oh man." And of course, I'm like, "Yeah, give it back to me." So there it was, back at me. I'm doing it again. So Brett was like, "Look, you need to deal with this, man, because that's going to be a monkey on your back if you don't deal with it." So we started researching faith-based rehabs, and we found one in Arkansas, in Hot Springs. It's called Teen Challenge. So we researched it. I remember looking on the computer, and it was like, it's a Bible boot camp, blah, blah. And just this thing was like, man, that's got to be for me. Like that's Bible boot camp. Like it's like it's structured. You gotta. And I was like, man, I think that's what I need, man. I want to go there. Now I'm sober, so we called Teen Challenge, and we're like, hey, look, I want to come there. I want you to teach me, how to deal with addiction. And they're like, are you, so what are you on? I'm like, I'm sober, about a year or so sober. They're like, well, we don't usually take sober people. I'm like, well, I'm probably going to go use again if you don't help me.
Right.
Like, please help me. Like
wait a week.
Yeah.
We'll have this conversation
do I need to
again.
come back in a couple? So I told you, they were good. They were good people, man. And I ended up, they understood. So we just put on there that I had used, and we kind of pencil whipped it. And I get there to Teen Challenge, and it's exactly what they say. I remember walking in the first time I met my pastoral counselor. His name was Tank. And before he even wanted to talk to me, he said, I want you to write your story. He gave me a notebook, and I wrote my story on this notebook, and he gave me a shovel, and he told me to go out back and dig a grave, a real grave. So I'm out there digging a grave, and I remember getting in the grave, and I had my testimony, basically my testimony. And he come out there and he goes, all right, we're going to bury that. So at that moment, I guess where I need to be. These people are extreme. I'm right. Extreme. I'm kind of, an edgy dude. So this is where I need to be. And I loved it, man. It was rugged, man. It was like they hit you with it, man. There's no smoking, there's no cussing, there's no nothing. And I needed that structure. I operate well in structure. That's what I was used to from the military. So I excelled very well in that program. Ended up going to the one in, you go from Hot Springs to Missouri, and you finish out in Missouri. Did well there. I've got some amazing stories. Still stay in touch with some of the guys that I went through. And, but still, when I graduate, where do I go? So I called my parents. I'm like, look, I'm good. Like, I think I got this thing. And they're like, oh, you come on home then, it's cool. So I go home after this graduation, and I was good for a little while, man. I had a couple broken relationships, but it's kind of hard to, I guess the best way to describe this is, now that I am a devout man of God, God has a plan for you. Like he says in Jeremiah, I got a plan for you, not for hope, not for destruction. So that plan, I believe that it's in the book of life. You've got a plan God has for you. And if you're not on it, he's going to do everything he can. He's going to put chess pieces in front of you to kind of coax you to get to that plan, And I think, although I went back to my family and stuff, and it was safe, that I still wasn't doing what God called me to do. That I had a plan. I had something there that he wanted me to do, and I just wasn't doing it. And so I relapsed, man. I relapsed so many times, man. And it used to be embarrassing to me, like, man, God, God, like, you love Lord and you relapse. Like, man, you just don't understand, man. This is not an easy thing. This is a tough life. If you don't have a community or people loving around you, and you have issues it's easy to fall off. It's easy to fall into something like that. And that was kind of what it was. I'm not a weak person by no means, but in those situations, I found that that I could be easily overtaken. So I went in and out of relapse, and every now and then I would be good for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then slam. I mean, just all the way burnt out.
What's a relapse look like for you?
A relapse for me is, so I'm working at a peanut farm, cotton gin, slave laboring. I hate my life. I'm doing good. I'm white knuckling it basically just to get through, and I'm doing everything that I think the textbook tells me to do, but my heart's not there. And I got to get out of this situation. So I check out. I check out and I go relapse. I'll go do whatever. I'll go find a group of guys, and if they're doing whatever, I'm doing it. I'm just crashing out. I got to go somewhere else.
And it's to the extreme. It's not just a couple of beers.
No, man, I'm an extreme person, and that's the way it was, man. And man, it found me in trouble with the law. I mean, you name it, dude. I just you get to a place in life to where you have a crossroads, maybe. And I would look back and be like, man, all the good stuff, I have good things that's happened to me, and I would try to remember all the things that God did for me. And I felt like I'd keep slapping him in the face. And I would tell myself, eventually he's going to let you go, Justin. He's going to let you go if you don't watch out. So there was a fear that I had inside, but I just couldn't find that life, man. I couldn't find something that I loved doing and stuck to it. And I would do it for a season and then get bored, and because my true love, what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was basically taken from me. And so I think I was never really just happy with life ever. And I think you get to a point, I got to a point to where you've probably heard the saying, you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Oh, yeah.
You're in and out of relapse. You're doing this. I got to a point to where it was embarrassing, man. I'd get on Facebook and I'm good now. And, oh, congratulations. And it's like, no, I fell and I'm good again. And, I got so sick of that, man. So tired of that. Tired of the way people would invest in your happiness and your congratulate you for being good for a season and then just disappoint them again, and I got so tired of that. that, man, I found myself in probably the darkest part of my life. I was married. I got married to a girl, a wonderful woman, man. She is amazing. And her and I, she was into children's ministry. What had happened is, in one of my recovery seasons, I found a rehab that was faith-based. And, you know, I talk to guys a lot now, and I tell them, they're like, man, you know, I'm going to rehab again. I'm like, look, go as many times you got to, brother. But eventually it's going to stick. Eventually you're going to find something, and it's going to stick. Or you're going to be at a place internally to where you're going to receive everything that you need to, and you're going to do it. You know, I have complete faith in that. And I think at this point, I'm telling you, I found this one faith-based recovery. It was called New Beginnings. It was in Alabama. And it was that one. I was ready. You could have put a cardboard box in front of me, and I would have sat in that cardboard box and gotten clean and sober and back on track. And so I met a girl who was in children's ministry. I excelled in this program as well. You kind of have to after you've been to about 13 rehabs.
Sure.
You know, you kind of know how to do it. But there was something different about this one. I would get into church and, you know, clap my hands, get into everything. But I always would feel like there was something more for me in church. And this pastor that was over this ministry came to me one day, and he goes, I think you got a calling in youth ministry. I'd never thought about it. But then I would recall, like, every time I go to church, all the high school kids and would just swarm around me. And there was just something there. And he was like, there's something to that. I want to build on that. You know, so I was like, okay, I'll do this. Yeah, no problem. So I started working with the youth pastor at the time. I'd go in there and kick it with the kids or whatever. Loved it. Well, then next thing you know, I'm the youth pastor. And I'm like, okay, this is it now. Now my girlfriend is working with children. I'm in the youth. Her and I start dating. We're going to save ourselves for marriage. We're doing this thing. And we get married. On honeymoon night, she gets pregnant. There's my little girl. And at that time, I was like, okay, this has got to be it, man. This has got to be where I'm supposed to be at. And so it was great, man. This, like I said, she's an amazing woman, man. We're not married anymore to this day, but I still love her with all my heart, man. And she's the mother to my kid, obviously. Sure. And my life was going really good. It was going really good. And then I laugh because it's like, how can you mess up something that's going so good? You know, how can this happen, man? How can you, like, God has just given you a silver platter, you know, a buffet of amazing life. And it just, I got church hurt. Ended up, the pastor of the church wasn't who he said he was. And so it disappointed me, man, because now here I am again. I'm sold out, dude. I'm going to be a youth pastor. I'm doing this thing, man, and I had a good thing going, man. I'd go eat lunch at the kids in the high schools. The whole town's buzzing about this youth group, and then the pastor ends up being crooked, and I don't think I was ready for that. I can't fault the guy. Still brought a lot of people, you know, to the Lord, and God rest his soul. He's passed away now, but I think in the life that he lived, he did a lot more good than he did bad, and he too was on his own journey. But at the time, it hurt me, killed me, dude. Like, man, what am I going to do now? Like, here I am looking up to this guy. I'm in his church, and he's not who he says he is. And is this even real? Like, so I battled with that, man. And a church hurt is something that is they don't get you prepared for. You know, it's a hard thing to deal with, especially when you're as sold out as I was, man. This was, once again, I had invested myself into something just like I invested into the military. And it was just pulled out from underneath me. So me and the wife, we start battling. I'm trying to stay in ministry somehow and ask, is there, what do I'll do whatever, God, just let me get out of this. And I knew that I don't think I was just ever serious, man. I've got a great heart, man. I'll help anybody. You know, there's nobody that can come across my path and ask me for something, and I won't give everything that I've got to them. But I don't think I looked at me to help me truthfully, you know, to battle with some of the things deep down inside that maybe I would tell you were fixed just to get through the day, you know. So you got to deal with some of these deep rooted stuff all the way back to childhood, and you got to forgive yourself, man. You know, things that happened to you as a kid, dude, it's not your fault. You know, it's not you. So I had a lot of one-on-one time with God, to where I just was like, God, I need you to help me with this. You know, I got to get through. It's hard. It's just tough stuff. You know, and repent, and he did. You know, and he got me through some of the things that I had pushed aside in a dark room that I didn't want to deal with. You know, a lot of some abuse as a kid, stuff like that. And then I would just kind of go through sections of my life like, okay, God, I want to be changed. You know, so how do I do that, God? So I went all the way back from childhood, and that's almost like I sectioned off my life. I say, what happened to me at childhood that I might be holding on to that I need to deal with? So I went through a lot of different scenarios. Okay, God, well, the Holy Spirit would bring it to the surface, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I forgot about that, you know. So I would work through it. I'd get in the Word, you know, and I would get in prayer, and God help me through this, and I would feel better about it, dealing with it. Sometimes I'd call home, hey, look, this is kind of what I'm dealing with. Will you help me? Had wonderful parents, wonderful family, you know, that would help me and understood, listened. And then I'd go through the next section. Okay, here's my military. What did I not deal with? You know, when I got out, it wasn't my fault. You know, this is something that I hadn't dealt with. You know, I was holding on to a lot of hurt, a lot of regret, and I had to deal with that, you know, and God helped me through that. And then I went through, okay, the marriage thing, you know, the addiction thing, you know, and I was like, you know what, Lord, I'm really gonna do everything. I'm gonna be humble, you know. I'm not gonna be so full of pride, you know. I'm gonna take whatever you give me, and I'm gonna do it to the best. I don't care what it is, you know. I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. And I want to help as many people along the way as I can, you know, who might have been through some of the same situations that I've been through in my life. And of course, man, God, He's there. You know, He never leaves you nor forsakes you. You know, He's always, but as a matter of fact, He's a step ahead of you. What do I do now, God? What do I do? You know, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Do I need you to get a job? I'll go to McDonald's. I'll do whatever I got to do. Right. So I had a little bit of money saved up. I started off at a hotel room.
Was it Alabama still?
Yeah, it was Alabama. So, and I met some good people in church, And I had a really good friend of mine who was on the worship team at a church, excuse me, in Mobile, Alabama. And she was great, man, good friend. She's an amazing person. And I think at this point in my life, I was finally, as embarrassing it is to say, it's like, when you finally going to get it, dude? But I was finally at a place to where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to take whatever life throws at me, and I'm going to fight it with God right by my side. And so I had this friend of mine. She would take me to appointments, take me to the VA, whatever she could do. So I had a couple $1,000s. And I knew I needed a place to live at first, and I needed a vehicle. So, and I trusted in God for everything. I said, man, I know that you've probably heard somewhere in church where he's like, you got to wake up in the morning, just pray. Start your day with prayers. I never did that. Like, I just kind of went through the motions, I guess. I had them in my heart, don't get me wrong, but I think I was never that obedient. So at this point, though, I'm like, you got to change. Like, you got to do what maybe something that's not so comfortable to you. And so I'd wake up every morning and pray, okay, God, today, what do you need me to do? Where do I need to go? I'm listening to you, whatever it is. I'll just sit right here until I hear from you. And he would tell me, I'd feel it in my spirit, okay, you need to go do this. Okay, God, that's what I'm doing. And I'd get up and I'd go to the VA. Hey, I need help. I know I need to go back because they had made a lot of advancements in PTSD. And I was thinking, you know what? Let me get back on track with the VA. Let me get back in the swing of things. They're better people now. I think with all the negativity that came out on how vets were getting treated, they had to change a lot of their ways. Right. So I was going to give it another try. So I started getting back in the VA.
So what year is this now?
This is 2023. Yeah, 2023. So I'm at the hotel. I go to the VA, and I remember going through the program. I was in Biloxi, and it's what a great place, man. In Biloxi, good people, man, amazing VA, wonderful people, and as I'm there, I remember I put in for like an increase in my benefits a while back, and didn't think nothing of it. And so I'm going to the VA. I'm there. I'm inpatient, obviously, and still talking to this friend of mine. She's, how you doing? Good. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Waking up, praying, trying to plan for when I get out of there. I've got a pastor friend in Alabama. He's looking for a place for me. He's like, I think I can find a place for you, man. We're going to help you. I'm like, look, I don't care if it's a trailer, a camper, whatever. I want to be humble, and I want to do what I have to do. I'll get somewhere, and I'll just increase. And you know what I'm saying? I'll go from this level to that level. I'll do whatever it takes, And as I'm sitting there at the VA, I had a social worker. Man, she's so amazing. She was like, hey, why don't I put you in for this new VA program? It's a community. It's called Eagles Landing. It's in Mobile. It's like a subdivision, and it's like a nice subdivision. You wouldn't think that it's a veterans owned place. Like you would just drive in, but it's all veterans live there. And it's got, they have little counselors that live in this office, like any subdivision, but it's all veterans. Only veterans can live there. They have a group that meets, and it's just, so I was like, hey, yeah. I think I want to do that. Let me pray first. I'll get back to you. So I spent a couple days in prayer. I'm talking to my friends, my family. Hey, look, I think I want to do this. I think God's calling me to do this. I think it'd be a good next step. It's a good secured place, structure. I'll be around some vet buddies, man, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Always. And so I was like, next day, I got up and I'm like, okay, I think God's cool with this. I'm going to go there. And she's like, okay. She's like, I can't promise you because there's usually a waiting list. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of bummer. You didn't tell me that. She's like, it's usually about a year, but we can find you, another halfway house to go to. I'm like, no.
Just a year, huh?
Yeah, just a year. So I'm like, okay. So I said, but then I got to thinking, I'm like, look, Justin, you got to do whatever. You've got to do whatever it takes. Man, you can't go back, man. You've lost everything. And I remember, like, one of my many times with God saying, okay, God, like, you think ever he gets tired of hearing this? Like,
I think about that a lot.
Man, where it's just like, it's almost when you go to him, you're like, oh, here I am again, Lord. I need your help. Like, but honestly, man, I think he thrives on that. I think that's probably some of the most precious moments that we have with God, is those moments to where we're just like, we just really need him, man. And when we think that he doesn't want to hear us, that we're just this broken record, but to him it's like, no, man, you can do it 1,000 times. I'm still going to just love you, and because we can't fathom that kind of love. There's just no way for my little finite mind to understand that. But I'm sitting there once again like, okay, God, this is what I want to do. If you're for this, I need you to make a way. I need you to show up, man. And, man, it was 2 days later. She called. In this program, when you go to class, you come back, there's like a little sticky note on your bed. That means you got to go see somebody. So I remember I come back from class, and there was a sticky note on my bed, go see your social worker. So I go down there. Miss Romano is her name. Man, I'd hug that lady every time I see her, man. She's just, those people in the VA that they're there for the right reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, man? They're few and far between.
I've heard about them.
I know. Look, this lady, man, I would probably drive back to Biloxi just to find her, to just give her a hug. Just, hey, thank you. Thank you for investing your life in us and being genuine. And because she's that kind of person.
That's awesome.
And I remember seeing her, I sat down, she's like, I don't even know what to tell you. I was like, what? She was like, you're in. I'm like, what am I in? Like, what's up? She's like, this lady said that there's a waiting list, but for some reason she feels like she just needs to let you come on there.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, and I just sat back and I was like, she's like, well, can you explain that? I'm like,
bro, this is incredible.
And I'm like, Miss Romano, I'm like, it's a God thing.
It is a God thing. And
she was like, really? I was like, he does it to me all the time. And you think by now I'd wake up, and he's that amazing though, but he is that amazing, and he does love us that much that it doesn't matter how many times you mess up. It's just like the prodigal son.
Yeah, I was just thinking
dude, he's going to wrap his cloak around you and have a buffet waiting for you every single time. It doesn't matter. And I think in my life, I don't know if I could fathom, could I be loved like that? And all of my mess and all this craziness of my life. And then in that moment, I'm thinking like, man, God, dude, you did it again. Yeah. But this time, because I was different up here, man. I was different up here. It was like I wanted to show God, like, I'm not going to do this the wrong way. God, I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to make you proud. And so I go to this Eagles Landing place. What a great place, man. I wish they had some of these all over the country for vets. I mean, what a good place. I mean, you don't want for nothing. You walk into this place. I remember my friend came pick me up. We drove from Biloxi to Eagles Landing, and I get out and I meet the director lady, Miss Deborah, amazing woman, and she's like, oh, nice to meet you. She's like, you know that this never happens. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, never before have I ever just let somebody come without waiting. Wow. She was like, so I don't know what it is about you. And it's, of course, every time this opportunity comes available, I'm like, God, I'm going to tell them about you. Yeah. And I'm like, no, Miss Deborah, like, this is a God thing, you know. This is because God wants me to be here, you know. And so this place you walk in, they show you your apartment. So you walk into this apartment, nice apartment, like a studio apartment, bed, desk, table, kitchen. And then they have like this cart that rolls up. They're like, okay, we're going to stock your cabinets and refrigerator. And I'm like, what? You know, because I was under the full impression I got to get out and bust my tail, get some money, get some, you know, stuff going. No, we got you. If you want anything, we got you. And I'm like, what? So they had, I mean, when I tell you they had a can opener, like all of my cabinets and drawers were full, silverware, anything you could need in the home, they provide it for you, for the vets. They don't want you to stress about nothing. They just want you to focus on you. And I was like, man, what a great thing.
It sounds like a great program.
Man, what an amazing thing, because now you're taking out that stress factor, you know, from the veteran who would normally be sitting here just crashing with anxiety. Yeah. How do I do this? How you're now alleviating him from that. Thank you so much. And so that's why I started. I'm at Eagles Landing in Mobile, and I'm like, okay, I got to go to church. I got to go to church Sunday. I got to go every time the door's open. I got to network, man. I got to go. I'm going to get a job. I know some people from the prison ministry now who, good people too, from a couple different churches. I'm going to reach out to them. Because one thing that I didn't do in my recovery that they tell you to do is you have to change the people, you know. You've got to surround yourself with good people. And I didn't really do that. I'm one of those people that I think everybody's good. Yeah. You know, it's kind of one of my flaws in a way. It comes back to bite me. But I knew that it's like I had a checklist in my mind. This is what you got to do. You got to surround yourself with the best people you can. So I'm like, okay, so let me give me about 4 or 5 people. So I had about 5 people. I'm calling you every other day. Hey, I'm doing good. Hey, this is what's going on. Because I felt I needed to do that. And in that, one of the guys from the prison ministry, his name's Richard. He's an amazing guy. He says, hey, man, I got a guy from church, man. He needs help. He has a lot of rental properties. You know, he'll probably pay you under the table if you want to, whatever. He just needs a helper. I'm like, yep, I'm in. I'm good, you know. And so I go work with this guy named Tim, super guy. God, at this point, man, God is just seriously, man, laying things out in front of me like never before. The perfect person, you know, the perfect place to live, the perfect person to lead me to this job, the perfect person to be employed for. And all the time I'm like, I'm so undeserving, man. Like, but there was still something there that was like, no, you're not, man. No, you're not. And so when I tell you in this part where I was at Eagles Landing and everything, when my dependency on God, like, it was real, brother. Like, when I tell you that he was with me, he was with me. And it's because I had to get to a place with him to where it was I had to depend on, my life depended on him. But not everybody's bad people, you know?
Sure.
As I sit here, I was not a bad person. I was just in a bad situation, you know, and it just sucks. But it took that. Sometimes God needs you to be at a place to where you'll listen, you know, and that's what it took for me personally. Right. Brother, I did everything I could. I did every program available. I learned every skill I possibly could. I was in church every time. I sang on the worship team. Like, I did everything I could. I said I knew I was going to lose I knew I was going to lose my wife. I knew it, and I did. But I knew I had to change so many things about my life, man. I had to finally stand up and be the man that I know God called me to be, that He saved me to be. And so I basically did everything I could. That I had something I could show them. No, that ain't me. I did this. I'm doing this now. You're only a bad dad if you continue to be a bad dad.
That's right.
It's hard to call a guy a deadbeat father if he's paying his child support, has a job, and calls his kids every night. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You can't really say nothing. So I made sure that I was going to flip that narrative. You're not going to say nothing. You can't say nothing bad about me because I'm doing the opposite.
Right.
And so I'm at Eagles Landing. I start working for this guy named Tim. He's paying me good too. He's paying me too good, you know, and he's a man of God. He's going to church. Man, we would sit there during the day and just work and talk about God. And I remember going home sometimes thinking, man, what a great, I've got it good.
What kind of work are you doing?
So at this point, I was just doing remodeling stuff. I'm one of those guys, I'm sure you met a lot of guys with the teams that you can just do anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're good at sports. You know, you're good at cards. You can do anything. We just kind of, I don't know, man. It's just guys like us. We just, you know, I guess A-type guys that, you know, we just can excel at things. You know, it might take a few times to learn, but then we're going to be the best at it.
Sure.
So I always picked up on a lot of things, you know, as I was growing up, and my family did a lot of construction, and I was involved a lot, you know, even in the service we were building and doing stuff. So it was just like, hey, look, I can do it, man. I'm not a stupid person. So yeah, I'll help you. So, and he taught me a lot of stuff too. There's a lot of times I YouTubed it, just to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
He'd give me a job, man. I'd be like, yeah, I got it, bro. He'd be like, oh, I'll be back in a couple hours. I'm like, okay, YouTube. How do I install? And I'm like, okay, I got it. You know, and I'm on it. Sure. But I would sit there at work with him, and, you know, he was a church-going guy. We'd talk about God, and it was just the best, man. And I saved up money, and I was like, okay, I know I have a plan. I got to save up this amount so that I can get from A to B again, you know. And I'm staying at this Eagles Landing. I bought a car, went down to a buddy of mine in Alabama, and who's been real good to my family. And I didn't, normally I'm a truck guy, you know, I'm dead set on one certain vehicle. This time, I'm not the same guy. I'm like, look, I need what's practical. You know, I've got to get what I need to right now in order to get me to the next place. So I need to save money, so I need to get something that gets good gas. So I got like a little Ford. I don't know. Ford gets a lot of gas mileage.
Right, like Focus or something,
Focus,
right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And so I was like, you know, whatever. You know, part of my humility. You know, whatever. You know, so I'm driving to work, man. I'm working hard, and I was on Facebook. And, of course, I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, man, am I ever going to find another woman? Like, you know, I tried. I didn't divorce my wife. She divorced me. I would have never, because I valued the covenant, no matter what mistakes, you know. And, you know, biblically, there's only a few that are worthy of you, you know. And, I didn't do any of that, but yet she left me, and it killed me, dude. Killed me. But I was always like, man, am I ever going to find somebody else? I like to share life with somebody. I'm just that kind of guy, and I had been single for 3 years now, going on 4. And I was on Facebook one night, and no, I was on Facebook dating thing, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Because the dating world's not like it used to be when I was growing up. You know, you don't go to the club, man, and it's not you're seeing a chick at school now.
Right.
Like it's tough, man. Like, how you going to meet somebody?
It's a different world now.
Yeah, you can't nowadays. You can't walk up to some chick in Walmart and be like, "Hey, can I get your number?" They can be like, "Get away from me, freak!" You know.
That's right.
It's just the world has changed. You know, so I was on this Facebook dating thing, and I'm like, man, I'm not good at this. And it seems so uncomfortable, man. You know, but I'm working, I'm going to church, doing the best I can every single day. You know, praying. I was in contact with all of my guys, you know, my people, and I ran across this one profile, and for some reason, man, it stuck out. It's one of those things like, how can you explain the unexplainable? You know, it was just something about her. Like, I seen a picture, I'm like, you know, she's different, you know. And, you know, there's always that initial attraction with people, but I don't know, there was something more. And I think in her bio, she's like, if you're not with, you know, me being a part of the police department, but, you know, like, she's like, I work for the sheriff's department, this. I'm like, normally I'd be like, hell no, you know.
Right.
But I was like, you know what, man? I'm gonna try this. Like, I'm gonna give it a shot just to see. And then I remember messaging this chick, and I'm like, what do I say? Like, I'm such a dork when it comes to this, man. I'm so cheesy, dude. But so I gave her the whole bio. I'm like, hey, look, I'm gonna get it out there. Ex-military guy. I'm a good dude. I'm a family guy. Love the Lord, but I got some mistakes in my life, and I just went down the whole thing. I'm like, hey, look, if you want to talk, if I didn't just run you, if you just didn't turn and run, you know, you want to get
if you're still reading, if you made it past this,
we might have a shot here.
Right.
And I left it at that. And man, weeks went by. But in those weeks that went by, let me tell you, so my friend, his name's David Wiggins. He's my spiritual father to this day. Okay. He calls me up and says, hey, man, you want to go preach? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. You know, he's like, all right, man, we need to get you approved. So, and I'm thinking it's never going to happen, and these people are not going to let me do this. Like, he's like, man, you'd be surprised. He's like, I think God wants you to do this. He's like, let's at least try, man. What could it hurt? So I said, okay, man, I'll do whatever it takes, man. So I remember getting on Alabama Department of Corrections website. I fill out all the necessary paperwork to be a volunteer chaplain. And I had my little talk with God. You know, that one, okay, God, it's me again. If this is something you want me to do, you know, let it rain tomorrow. You know, whatever. Right. And Dave calls me back, and like, it was like 3 days, I think something went by, and he goes, you sitting down? I was like, yeah, I usually sit. He's like, you gonna go with me to the prison this weekend? I was like, for what? He's like, man, you got approved, dude. I was like, what? I was like, come on, man, don't mess with me, bro. This is like, you're messing with my heartstrings here, dude. He's like, no, man. He's like, you're good. They approved you. You're officially can go into any prison in the state of Alabama and go minister. And I was like, whoa, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
Whoa. And, you know, you have moments of awe with God. You know, it's like he keeps one-upping, dude. He keeps one-upping me, dude. And it's like, when is this going to stop? You know, and I don't know, man. I don't know if it ever will. You know, I just know that I got to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. So I start going into prison, man, sharing my testimony. Hey, look, I've been you. You know, guys are like, like, I'm going to death row. That's where he goes. Death row in Alabama, the worst prison probably in America. And some of the most hardest people you ever meet. But I'm reaching them. And because they can relate.
Right.
You know, because it's relatable. I've been there. Man, look, dude, I know what you're going through, bro. Maybe not exactly. I'm telling you, you can do this with God. I promise you. And I would go through the stories that I experienced. And people were responding. And that's, to me, that's probably the most fulfilling thing you could do in life, is for someone who has no hope. These people are never getting out of prison, man. They're going to die in prison. And they have no hope. You know, what do they have to hope for? Chicken day? You know? But here comes you, who's been there to a degree, and you tell them about the Lord, you know, and you tell them that whatever they did, they're forgiven. And it doesn't matter what they've done. And some of them done some things, brother.
Yeah.
And then you see that look on their face, this like, that relief, like they never thought in a million years that somebody would say, you're forgiven, you know, and love them, you know. So to me, that was, and still is, man, one of the most precious things I get to be a part of.
You're still doing that today?
Yeah, I still do that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
I can't do it as often because of where I live now.
Yeah.
But I do. So anyway, so I'm sitting there waiting on this chick to write me back, bro. And then boom, I get this message, and it's her picture, you know, little emoji or whatever, little icon. I see her picture. I'm like, so I'm nervous, man. I'm like, man, she's probably gonna be like, don't ever respond to me again, you know. And she goes, yeah, I'd like to talk. So I'm like, what? So then we start messaging, and I was like, look. She was like, you were honest with me. She was like, you know what I do? She was like, I work at a sheriff's department. So when I see your picture, I was initially attracted to you. She was like, I look up everybody before I start talking to them. She was like, so I ran your name, and I knew everything about you. And if you wouldn't have told me what you told me in your initial, there'd be no chance. She said, but I knew there was something about you that was different. And I was like, good, man. Like, I'm so glad I did that. And so I was like, well, what's chances we can like meet, go on a date or something? You know, is this how this works? You know, are we just going to stay online forever? You know, and she's like, no, you can meet me. She was like, I have a daughter, you know, so I need to be very safe or whatever. I'm like, whatever. So the day comes, bro, and I was supposed to come meet her over at the Commons in Destin. I'm so nervous, bro. Like, you know, still there's a part of me still like, you know, is this something that God's going to allow me to have since my last one, you know? It's still a little hurt over my last one. You know, you can't lie about that. You know, it's just the way it is. But I remember driving. It was like 2.5 hours to drive to meet her. The whole way I prayed. I'm cranking worship music, man. I'm like, if I need all the blessings I can get on this one, God. And I'm like, but look, if this is it, you know, I want to have somebody I can invest in, you know, because that's kind of how I am. And so I remember going over the toll bridge, and I was supposed to meet her out in front of Belk. Didn't know what she drove until the last minute. She's like, I'm in the blue Jeep. So I pull in, and I'm thinking, oh my, man, that first where I see her face to face in person is huge. Is she gonna be 300 pounds? You know, did she use all these filters the whole time? I mean, have I been catfished? I mean, all this stuff is going through your mind.
Yeah, these are real things, right?
Yeah, man. And so I remember getting out of my driver's to open the door, and she comes walking around the back, and I was like, I couldn't even talk.
Just speechless.
Dude, I'm just, because God was like, enjoy, brother. This is it. here she is. This is who you've been praying for this whole time, praying for God to reconcile my marriage the whole time. I wouldn't take divorce for an answer. I was like, no, this can't be. So I was like, I'm praying for this woman. I'm praying for my marriage. I'm praying for my marriage. And now I know the whole time I wasn't praying for that marriage. I was praying for this woman. Because the first time in my life, it's like I met my best friend. Like the first night, dude, we laughed until we wanted to puke. Like, I mean, we just clicked like off the rip. And, you know, we were saying things like, man, I need to be careful. Like we're just, I don't know, something just, we vibe too much. And so anyway, I remember telling her bye and driving home. I'm like, man, I'm in Alabama. She's almost in Panama City. Like, this is not going to work, man. And but we just kept talking, and it was good, man. And I would come visit her every chance I get, man. This chick she's legit. She works for the sheriff's department, so I can't get nothing over on her.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's security right there. And I was like, man, but I need to see her more. I kept coming over and visiting, and then it just got to a point. I met her daughter, and like the second time I met her daughter, you know, I'm losing so many years with my little girl, man. Mm-hmm. You know, and it kills me. And I was like, just like, God, could you please just do something with that? You know, that way that I don't miss so much. And funny thing is Katie, my now wife, is her daughter's 1 year younger than my daughter. So the things that I missed with my daughter, I'm now doing with my other daughter. And that's just how God rolls, man. He just, when you ask him and he blesses you and he looks out for you, it's not halfway. Like, it's all the way. It's in ways that you could have never thought of.
That's right.
You know, like there's no T not crossed and no no I not dotted, dude. I mean, he gets every detail. And so I'm in constant amazement. Me and her, we hit it off, dude. And I'm like, look, I can't be away from you. This is nuts. You know, this is bananas, bro. We got to be together. And she's like, well, you can just move in. And she was like, well, I mean, God's gotten you this far, you know, just ask him. So here I go again, like, hey, God, I want to go move in with this chick. You know, I need you to help me out here. So I come over here, man. And I didn't, I mean, it's Florida, no direction whatsoever. So I was driving to Alabama 3 times a week to go still work with my buddy Tim, because I made enough money with him to where it was good, but I'm losing so much money
driving back.
Man, dude, in time, I mean, it was horrible, man. So I'm like, look, God, I need something here, man. I got to find something here. So I put in for a few things. Fortunately, my wife knows a lot of people. She worked for Department of Health in Santa Rosa. And they have a thing in Santa Rosa to where it's called POST. It's whenever they get a call for suicide or OD, that they have a post team that follows up. You know, they have somebody that's not a cop that shows up to these people's house.
Okay.
Like a peer, because I'm a certified peer support counselor. So that's kind of their way of combating, you know, the suicide, the addiction thing, the ongoing thing. Because I told the guys when I was interviewing for the job, I haven't got it yet, but I'm saying I'm interviewing. I told them, I said, hey, look, when I was in addiction, you're the last person I'm going to talk to.
Yeah, that's right.
If you come to my door in a police uniform, I'm shutting the blinds. I'm turning all the lights off. I'm not going to respond to you. There's no way I'm going to talk to you about my problems. So I want to say they're doing a good job there, man. And that's something I applied for. So I have that applied. It's volunteer basis. But I knew I could still do this thing with Tim. So I was like, okay, at least maybe I can get in the door there, and then it can go to something else maybe. And then I'm sitting there one day at the house, and I'm scrolling on Facebook, and now let me back up a little bit. My PTSD, depression, was under control. Really, it's under control until the next traumatic experience, right. And then you kind of shell up, you kind of avoid people, Katie, my wife, is very aware, of the extremes. I have no sleep, or did have no sleep. My sleep pattern was stay awake a couple of days until your body can't take it no more and fall asleep. And then do it all over again. It's kind of how I did it. Or I would take like little naps, but I never had your normal sleep pattern.
You're not getting into REM sleep.
No way, dude. No way. What is REM? Is that an 80s band? I just didn't have that. But I mean, I had enough things around me that was positive to where, you wouldn't know I had those things, those little bouts of depression. Basically, really at that point with her, when I first started with her, I was just disappointed with my life. Like I thought by now I would have done much more, and the mistakes you make. Because once you have enough sobriety, because at this point I'm looking about 6-7 years, and it's a big gap, and your mind starts to get a little more clearer. And you start to think like, man, there's so much I should have done, man. And so I went through those little spouts, man, and be depressed about things like that. And so she knew that I needed to do something, if it was therapy or continued therapy or whatever, to just do that. I just had to find some place in Florida. So I was scrolling on Facebook, Reels or something like that, and then this ad popped up, and it said, we're doing a study on veterans with PTSD and depression. And it said, we're paying you some amount of money a week, Emerald Coast TMS. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, I click on it, because at the time I'm thinking money. I need something with that little extra money. And it leads me to this page about TMS. And I read it, and I'm like, oh, that's my brain. Like, hold on, man. Like, what are they doing to the brains here? I just see this person, this cab. It's got this big machine on them and stuff. And I'm like, I've been down that route one time, and it didn't do nothing. But I was like, man, but the money, dude. Like, I could use that extra money, So I told Katie. Katie's like, hell no. You're not going to get your kidneys removed. They're going to freaking put you out, lay you on the table, and start selling your organs. Like, this place looks shady, And I'm like, oh, man, come on, we got to give it a chance. She's like, look, you're messed up. You're one of those guys that you're just a bad situation away. She's like, I don't want them to mess up your brain anymore. And I'm like, I just really want to give it a try. And she's like, well, look, you pray about it, So then I go back to God. Hey, God, it's me again. Right. Like, still me. I kind of want to do this TMS thing. They say they'll pay me each week. Maybe it'll help my brain. Maybe it'll help some of my depression or whatever. Maybe not. Just could you please just guide me? If it's something you want me to do, I'll do it. If not, no problem, shut the door. And the next day, the owner of the place, because I filled out some paperwork, he calls me. Is this Justin Ullrich? I'm like, yes, sir. Hey, I'm so-and-so, and as I see you might be interested in our treatment. I'm like, I don't know, man. I said, I'm kind of still waiting on an answer from God. Okay, yeah, I'll respect that, Just let me know whenever you want to talk. I'll answer any questions. I was like, okay, we didn't push it on me. So I told Katie, I was like, look, I'm just going to go to the first appointment. She's like, okay, whatever. So I scheduled the first appointment. And at this point, I was taking antidepressants and stuff like that. I had taken myself off of all narcotics. I put myself on the no narcotic list many years ago just because I didn't want that temptation again. But I took Prozac. I've been on Prozac for a long time. Wellbutrin, blood pressure medicine, some stuff for my asthma. But that was all I took for the VA. But I didn't want to always be on something, you know. I was like, man, I think I can get away from this. So I go and I meet Kevin. He's the guy. He's the owner. And I'm like, man, Kevin, I want to do this, man, or whatever. So he's like, yeah, I'd like to be a part of it. You know, you're good. And I told him about all my history and everything. He's like, good. He goes, I think we can help you, man. I think we can do this. So I was like, okay, man, well, I'll give it a shot, man. And so the first appointment I go to, they like measure your brain, you know, where it's called mapping. And they put this cap on you. They put this point on you. And they put the machine over by you, and they try to kind of pinpoint where the part of the brain that regulates mood. And they do all that, and they're just like, so do you want to get started today? And I look at my wife, I'm like, sure, let's go ahead, let's do it. So she's like, if you end up being brain dead, it's on you, whatever. I'm not gonna push you around in a wheelchair, whatever. So I went with it, man. And the first time it felt kind of like, I don't know, man, like my brain was being massaged or something. So it's this magnetic coil that sits on this machine, kind of like you're in a dentist chair, and you're sitting there, and it emits a magnetic energy pulse is what it is into your brain. Because your brain has got neurons that are firing, right? It's energy. And if you were to look at my brain with the EEG, there's like the left side is black. Like there's no activity, man. But the right side, the thought process, a 2 + 2, it was all kind of fired up. So it's sitting there, and it's like, da, 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 da. So it sounds kind of like an MRI machine, but you feel this like little tapping in your brain. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird, but I think I can do this. So I did that session that day, and I talked to my wife. I said, yeah, I want to do this.
How long is the session?
So it starts off at like 18 minutes. There's 2 different ones. Really, it's all based upon your level of trauma. Like, some people, it's a little bit more extreme, or they might need a little bit more. So they have an 18-minute, and then they have one that's called a theta burst. It's all a different radio wavelength is what it's emitting. And it's a 3 to 4 minutes. So really, if you were to sign, like me, I signed up, and it's like, okay, you're going to do this amount of 18-minute sessions, and then we're going to graduate you to these 3-minute sessions. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. So as was my habit, I was really, everything I did in this point in my life was, I want to make sure I do everything to the best of my ability. Don't want there to be no questions about anything I do. So I took this therapy and said, okay, let me get a notebook. I'm going to write down what my sleep is. I'm going to write down my attitude, what triggers me, because obviously I've been through so many different things. I've got some knowledge in, how to respond to certain situations. So, I'm writing down some tools and skills and things that I can navigate while I'm in this therapy. And because I kind of want to keep like a journal, basically, like a therapy journal. Because if it didn't work, I wanted to have evidence, say, look, it didn't work.
Right.
But if it did, I was like, man, I'm going to give it my best energy. I'm going to put forth my best effort. So I started going like 3-4 times a week. And so I think I started on Monday. I think I did start on Monday or Tuesday. So I went like Monday, Tuesday, or like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's Friday. Brother, that weekend, Friday night, I go to sleep. And I remember I went to sleep. And when I woke up Saturday morning and it was daylight, like sun, I looked at my wife and she's standing there almost crying, dude. She's like, do you know you just slept all night? I'm like, damn, I did. Like, whoa. And then I was like, dude, I feel so much better. You can imagine somebody that doesn't really get sleep. You just had the first night of sleep you've had in, I can't even remember how many years, man.
And this is what, like the fourth session, maybe? 3-4 sessions?
This is about the fourth session. Yeah.
Did you notice anything prior to that?
No, not really, man. If it was placebo. It was because I wanted it so bad. I had a little joke with my wife. I was like, tonight I'm gonna be able to tell you your thoughts. She was thinking I was going full on limitless with her.
Right.
I just wanted it to work so bad, man.
Sure.
I wanted to have because my life was going so good. In these other aspects. The one thing that was holding me back was my mental health. And I didn't want that to come up and mess it up, man. So I wanted to do anything I could, man. So first week, man, I slept like a baby, bro, like a baby. And then I remember the next week, I'm like, man, I slept. And all the girls there, which was wonderful people, man. They're such good people. They were so excited for me. And that's kind of the going thing there is like, you're waiting for that first guy to come back, walking in and be like, I slept last night, And it's like all the vets like, yeah, dude, you're getting there. And
so this is all outpatient, non-intrusive, just come by.
Yep.
18 minutes starting off.
Yep.
So maybe 30-minute roughly visits.
Yeah. When I started off, because I was local, it was nothing for me just to drive 30 minutes to go do a session. There are some people that come show up who are like from Mobile or Pensacola, Crestview. I've had somebody come from Biloxi. Now they're going to stay for the afternoon or something, and they're going to do 2 sessions. They'll do one, take lunch, come back and do another.
Okay.
And then they might come the very next day and do the same thing. That way they have 4 week. That's kind of the ultimate goal.
So you're trying to get 4 in a week.
As much as you can. You want to be consistent is the thing. What you don't want to do is have a gap. You don't want to go for a week and then boom, not show up for 3 weeks. And, with anything, the best way to get the best results is to stay consistent.
Consistency.
So that's what I did.
So real quick, what else are you noticing besides your sleep? I mean, generally speaking, with sleep improving, everything else is just naturally going to improve, because what I've come to find out or come to notice, right, is like once our sleep's messed up, everything else gets haywire, right? Your brain's just not resting, it's not repairing. So now that your sleep's recovering, what else is coming in line? Because you went there because of depression, right?
Yeah.
So are those... Is the depression pretty much leaving? Are you noticing a change in that?
Yeah, man. So after about 3 weeks, I remember going to the VA and telling my doctor, like, hey, man, I think I want to come off this medicine. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I'm doing this TMS therapy, and I feel different, doc. I don't know how to explain it. you know, and he's like, well, just be safe, man. You've been on this for a while. I need to taper you off, you know. So he's like, is this something you want to do? I said, yeah, I think I want to do that. I think I want to do that. So it's hard to pinpoint how to express how this feeling, you just kind of know it, man. It's just kind of, I just woke up one day and I took a deep breath and things just was clearer. Like, how do you know that you're living in a fog until you have true clarity?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like if you have a bum knee, you know, with my injuries, I've dealt with it for so long in my life. It's just a limp. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've dealt with my mental health for so long. It's just part of it, man. So to wake up and, like, I don't know, man, just things were a little bit more crystal clear. You know, I remember the wife and the little girl were she was getting ready for school, I think it was. And she was, she'd get on, you know, how little kids, they get on your nerves sometimes, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they can't help it.
Yeah,
you know, they're just being little brats or whatever. And she was in that moment. Normally I'd be like, oh, I got to get out of here. And I remember it's like I had a little drop down menu. It was like, engage, respond this way, respond that. I'm like, am I really thinking through this? Like, whoa. So I remember, and also your tolerance level, like say driving, you know, people cut you off. You're like, oh, honk the horn. You know, it's like, hey man, next time, brother, just watch out where you go. You know, right. Your whole response is so different, you know, and then after that happens is when you have that moment of clarity. You're like, whoa, did I really just do that? Like, that is totally not me. Like, I really just didn't freak out on those people, or I really didn't blow up, or, you know, and did I really just eat dinner with my back to the exit? No way would that ever happen. And I didn't even remember it. Like, it wasn't even like a thing. I remember we walked into the restaurant, Longhorns. I didn't care where we sat. That is not how it goes.
That's not normal.
No. I'm getting in the back corner. Right. I'm watching everybody.
I've gotten into fights with my wife over, like, where I'm sitting.
Yes.
You know, it's a problem. So.
Yeah. So, dude, I'm like, my wife's like, where you want? I'm good wherever, babe. She's like, really? Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, dude. It's like, I'm good.
That's,
you know, so 6 weeks in.
And is that what you did? It's a 6-week program?
Okay, so it's a 36 sessions.
Okay.
So however long it takes, you do 36 sessions.
Ideally 4 a week, though.
Ideally 4 a week. With me, the owner come in, the doctor, the head dude, he said, hey, you know, just because of the nature of things, you know, what you've all been through, he goes, let's do an extension with you, you know, because there's extensions available. Sometimes people have been through some stuff and 36 just ain't enough. You know, you might need to go to 45 or 50, you know, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. I'll do that. Yeah, I'm feeling like I could probably do that. And he's like, good, I got you. So from what I remember, that next session after I started the extension, I mean, and it was just like the next day. Okay. It was like I did my 36 one, and it was like, hey, look, let's get you an extension. We'll see you tomorrow. And it was just like that day, something clicked. And it was like, man, I feel so much better. Like, I woke up, you know, I have a little bit of ADHD too. And little projects that I had around the house were getting completed. They weren't halfway done, and I'd get back to them later. It's like I started to look at different things in my life and say, man, this is really working. Like, and then when that part hits you, you're like, whoa, like I'm really part of something it's not going to just help. Because I start thinking, because of my heart, I'm like, oh man, all the guys and girls, all these brothers and sisters who have been suffering their whole life, dude, I've got to tell them about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because never before would I ever imagine being this clear. So also something to tell you is I started going back to college, veterans organization, VRNE. They're paying for my college I'm trying to finish my degree so that I can be a chaplain. That's my ultimate goal. And like I said, I'm not your cookie cutter, dude, man. I'm rough,
right.
But I know that God, he made me this way because there's a certain audience for me to reach.
Sure.
It's not going to be the ones that have never been through anything in life. It's going to be the rough ones, man, that are not going to listen to nobody except me because I've been them.
That's right.
And so I'm going to school to get my degree so I can be a chaplain. And my professor writes me an email. He's like, "Hey, Justin, hey, I just checking, man. Have you changed anything, or is anything going on?" And he's like, "Man, or was there something going on before? Because, man, your papers, dude, whoa, you're putting so much more thought in it." And it didn't ring a bell. It's not something I thought of. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing TMS." And then I started thinking, I remember now in my groove, going through these discussions or writing a paper where I was just in it. I was engaged, man. And I'm like, "Oh yeah. Yes, I'm a little bit more clear-minded now." It's like I'm thinking way deeper in some subjects where it wasn't just get through with it, And so that was pretty cool to hear, because that's somebody that doesn't even know me, is saying something like that.
Sure.
And not to mention your family, dude, your wife, they know this. They know this, man. They're gonna know Daddy's different. And I'm always been a good person to be around, man. Fun, happy, whatever. But it's just so much more genuine now.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does. And less forced.
Yes, less forced.
Yeah.
When somebody tells me a joke now, I laugh because I really feel it.
You're
I
authentic.
Laugh because I'm supposed to laugh.
Right.
It's like, okay, the punchline, ha ha ha. It's like I really get it now. It's because I was numb, man. That's what those antidepressants do to you. They numb you up, man. And I now feel again. So I get through with the extension, and I'm like, man, I'm a different person. You just saved my life. You don't even know it, Doc. Do you know the hell I've been through my whole life? I don't think I'm not running these DVDs over in my life, and playing this depressive reel in my head. It doesn't even come up. And you did that. You facilitated that, and he's such a good guy. He's like, "Well, Justin," he goes, "there's something special about you." He's like, "You got a light, man. You got a light." And I said, "Well, hey, look, man, you ever need any help? I'm kind of looking for a job, man." He's like, "No, look, man," he goes, "I don't want to take anything away from your, you got a call. You're going to go be a chaplain." I'm like, "Well, I could be a chaplain. I got a couple of years left." And he's like, "Well, look, you pray about it and get back to me." I was like, "Okay, I can do that. I've been doing that. Me and Guy got this thing going." So man, I just want you to know that I went back after, I think it was 2 weeks after my last appointment, which would have been March or April this year. And I handed my pills to the VA and said, "I'm done, man. Completely pill free. Nothing no more. I don't take nothing. Nothing, brother." So I think there was a moment, I wish I could have recorded that, handing all your 90-day supply of pills, so I was like, and the lady's like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good." And of course they look at you like you're crazy at first.
Right.
"Are you sure, sir?" And then when I told them, I was like, "No, I did this therapy. It's non-invasive, and I don't have to take it no more. Like, I wake up every day happy.
Dude, it's amazing. What? All right. So TMS.
Yeah.
We skipped right over the acronym, right? What is TMS?
Okay, TMS is Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation.
Okay. And you described what it was, basically.
Right.
Have they started the development of like take-home units?
Oh man, I wish.
Where you at with that?
This is where it's at. So it actually originated in the 80s. But the FDA, man, the FDA wasn't letting it go.
They don't want to fix you, really.
Why the heck would they want to fix you, right? But
they could prescribe you these for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, man. Come on, dude. Yeah. But for some reason, I just, to me, because it's a God thing, man. I think that God had enough. He had enough with people dying and of this when it could be easily circumvented. And so you fast forward. So you take 80s technology, right? Obviously, it was pretty prehistoric, the machine or whatever. So then you fast forward to, a couple of years ago, and here we go again. We got TMS, new technology, more precise machines. They're pinpointing areas. We can do some serious help now. Like then, I think back in the day, maybe it was a little kind of a 50-50. Now that you're getting help.
Now, can you speak on? So you went through basically a testing.
I did.
Can you speak on the numbers, like how everyone did?
Yes, I can. So out of the people that I personally, I want to speak on what I've seen.
Yeah.
I say probably 20 to 25 veterans, all with PTSD, depression, anxiety. All of us can tell you a story. Out of those veterans, not one. Out of those, 100% have seen, they either have all their sleep back again, or off medication. Their quality of their symptoms are gone.
So major life improvements.
Man, you're talking night and day. I mean, just like we've talked about, if I went through this treatment and I just got my sleep back, that's a win for me.
It's huge.
That's a win for most of the guys that I know.
Yeah.
Because that's where that
starts it all.
Exactly. So now I do know there's people that did go in the program, that did do therapy, where they had issues prior to, so that played a factor into it not maybe helping all the way.
Okay.
Or they just couldn't complete the therapy, or there's always those little things. But every single person that I know that did the program, start to finish, good to go.
And this clinic that you're working at now, Emerald Coast TMS.
Yes.
So this is, how new is this program? I know you said it started back in the 80s, but as far as like where they're at now, how widespread is it across the U.S.? Could if I lived in Texas, could I find a clinic out there?
So our home base is in Texas.
Oh, okay. Our
home base is in Plano, Texas. And then I think we just opened up one in Austin, I believe. No, Fort Worth. The owner right now, he is, where there's a need, he's going.
Okay.
I mean, he's a veteran himself. And so we have one in Panama City opening up soon, probably mid-September. We have one opening up, I'm just going to speak it into it, next week in Pensacola. Okay, everything's already there, ready to rip. I've been working that market to try to get the word out to veterans there. The one in Fort Walton Beach it's there. That's home base here. We're talking about possibly opening up maybe a satellite in Crestview, just because it would be convenient for that side of town. And that's a future thing. But you can look it up. I think I researched it. I pulled it up. Arizona TMS. Boom, there's somebody there doing it.
Okay.
So really what it is just get online. And if they're not here and they're hearing this and it's somewhere else, man, please find a TMS place somewhere, and just start going, and if I was to give anybody, veteran, whoever has issues, this is what I did. And I can tell you that it worked for me. When I went there, I tried to clear my mind. I sat in that chair and I sat there and I was like, for me, I prayed. Okay. There's a lot of times I fell asleep, but I wanted to clear my mind of everything and just let it work. And I'd be praying sometimes, God, please, as this machine's working, please heal my mind. Please heal me of this. I want a better quality of life. That's not going to be everybody. But when I left that facility, when I turned my radio on, it was a self-help podcast. It was somebody encouraging, some motivational speaker, somebody saying you can, and not saying you can't. I wanted, if my brain had neural pathways that are going to start firing again, I want one of the first things they hear is something positive.
That's right.
So I was force feeding myself everything I could positive, everything I could encouragement. Reading, I'd get home, I'd get in the Word. I got some other self-help books. I'm reading that. So what TMS does is you have neurons in the brain. Okay, what this radio pulse, this energy pulse does is it's because your neurons is electric, right? Yeah. So it might be dormant. Well, it hits it, and it's starting to fire again. It starts to make these neurons fire and either reroute or plot a new path. So next thing you know, where your brain was dormant and non-effective, has now got all this stuff firing and all these new things happening, and it's like you're thinking again on a whole nother level, and I can tell you, as I sit here today, just like you said, if I get my quality of sleep back, if I now have a sleep regimen, my life is still going to progressively get better because I'm getting good sleep. The same way goes for if I now have normal brain activity, every day I wake up, I'm getting benefits, man. There's something new going to happen next week. And I'm excited about it.
Dude, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just such to me, and the reason I asked the owner, I said, man, please, let me come be a voice for you.
Yeah.
Please, man, because I know that there's people out there hurting and they need something. And dude, if this worked for me, I know it can work for anybody because I'm one of the worst, brother.
Right.
I've been through it. So that's kind of what led me to where I'm at now. It's like now I'm trying to get my own LLC starting. Vet for Vets is what I'm going to try to. It's not taken yet, so I'm trying to get that, and we're doing that probably this week. I have a group every Wednesday at the clinic where I meet with the vets that are in the therapy, and we just talk, man. Hey, man, how you doing, dude? How's this doing for you? Oh, man, I'm sleeping now. Oh, man, my wife, she'll hold my hand now. I'm a different person.
Wow.
We hear a lot of family feedback, too. Like, man, you got my dad. Like, man, what'd y'all do? Like, I got my dad back. Like, and there's nothing in this world better than that to me.
No, that's huge.
There's salvation, obviously.
Yeah.
But then when you give somebody their quality of life back, or a family member like that, to me, it's like you can't compare that to anything. Not me. There's just no way.
No, that's the best part of life. Right?
Yes.
So, dude, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Tell me real quick, insurance-wise, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got TRICARE.
Okay.
Right? Wait, do you guys take TRICARE? How's it working?
So right now, TRICARE, you're golden. I think TRICARE is probably the best that we have.
Okay.
I mean, you're going to get it right away.
VA insurance?
So here's where we're at. We tell everybody, man, just fill it out.
Okay.
Fill out the intake. Let us deal with those people.
Okay.
Let us find a way if there's not one. We're going to find a way because the ultimate goal for what we're doing is we want to help. Right? I know every insurance, of course with the VA, because of the way the VA is structured, we have to go through certain things. You know, that's beyond my pay grade.
Sure.
But there's people that are there right now that are in the VA.
Okay.
And they're getting therapy. So some way, shape, or form it's happening. But I just tell everybody, just fill it out. You know, go do it. Let us deal with all the insurance stuff. You know, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Humana, what's the other one? United.
Right.
You know, all these things that we've seen. There's people in there that have it. So yes, that's where we're at. But definitely TRICARE is like number one. They're probably the easiest to deal with.
Right on, man. Well, again, I mean, your story, there's a lot that we could deep dive and unpack, but I think you just really wanted to give that 50,000 foot view of what your life was like and how it had become unmanageable in so many different ways.
Yes,
but
man.
Yet you had transitioned into different aspects that a lot of people can't even imagine themselves in, right?
Right.
I mean, that transition from having to start over from nothing.
Yes.
You've absolutely been through a ton, Justin, and throughout the whole story, you know, you just found yourself talking to God, and God just continued to lead you, man. And again, I can't thank you enough for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know the guys and gals at home got something out of this, and I really hope that they reach out and they get the help that they're needing, because this sounds phenomenal. I will make an appointment, and I'll get myself in there as well, man. It's something I would love to go through, be able to kind of tell it from my end of the spectrum.
And you know what's going to be funny, man? Because I hope the day comes when you look at this again and you play it back. It's like, man, I remember sitting there saying I was going to go do it. And then the you now at that point, I mean, I can't wait for that, man.
Right.
I can't wait for that, man. That's going to be quite incredible.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Before we cut, do you have any parting words for the guys at home?
Man, yes. Just never give up, man. Don't. Yeah, that's us guys, us military people. There's something in our blood. You know, no matter how far we fall or adversity that comes our way, we just don't give up. You know, and so I plead with anybody out there that might be at the last straw, just give it one more chance. Give it one more day. Man, go talk to somebody. Go reach out to someone. Don't give up, man, because I promise you, there's somebody out there that is willing to help you. And there was a God above that loves you with a love that is unimaginable or unexplainable.
That's right, man. Very well said. Very well said. Well, Justin, dude, thank you so much.
Brother.
I can't wait to get this up. Like I said, I know it's going to help a lot of people, man.